Hi, everybody. Here for a little live stream for you today. I got a package in the mail, so we're going to take a look and see what's inside here. And I just want to comment on these modern era epic collections, because now that we have three, we can see kind of the spines. They're all going to be white logos, which I know some people will probably not like. Other people may like that. It kind of gives it a new uniformity. Same with the colors down here, all the colored corner boxes. I don't know. I think it looks kind of nice. And I like these three colors together. I think that looks kind of cool. So we'll see how it plays out once we get Venom and some more on top of this to see if I want to collect them all together on my bookshelf or spread them out among all the epic collections. Since they have all of the white, I think it might be kind of cool to keep them all together. But I would love to hear your comments on that. Anyway, let's see what's in this box. There are two epic collections that we're going to talk about here. One of them is a reprint and one of them is new. Thanks to Marvel for sending these my way and allowing me to show them off to all of you viewers out there. Okay, so the first one here, is a new printing of X-Men Proteus, and this is an Epic Collection Volume 6 that has been out of print for a while, and you can see it's got a new logo on the top. It doesn't have the red logo. It's also a different logo than the one. The other one is a slightly different variation on X-Men, which they used for only a few issues, and then switched over to this one for all of the 70s, 80s, and most of the 90s as well. So that will indicate the new printing here. It's still a thin Epic Collection just because it's like just over 400 pages. But one of the problems that people had was that this one had a fairly thin paper when it came out. And so this one, let me see. I'm just going to double check. Oh yeah, it's from Solid.co because that's who sent me the box. So it has the same new paper as what has been what the Epics have been using for the past couple of years. If you like that, I like it. I think it's good. It's not full. It's not really glossy, but it's not totally matte as well. And it's, I mean, in the light you can see it shine through, but it's not going to. You're not going to see any bleed through the page when you actually are reading it. It's actually really, really good that way. So this era is the John Byrne and Chris Claremont era of X-Men. Some people really love this era. It has a lot of fans because, of course, this is where John Byrne kind of rose to fame with his stories like Proteus, which is a big story with, how come I can't remember her name now? On Muir Island. Yeah, weird. Oh, I'm getting some comments here. Let's go back. Ultra Mega Nicola. Okay. Hi, Nicola. Nice to see you again. Nice She-Hulk avatar. Oh, red heart shape. Red. I don't understand this comment. Sorry. Okay, this Facebook user says, I think spreading them out, talking about the modern era Epic Collection, spreading them out based on character and teams is better. Okay. Mangi says, so happy to see all these early Claremont epics get reprinted. I had a gap between volumes 3 and 7 last year, and being able to fill it up has been great. Oh, Moira. Yeah, Moira McTaggart. I don't know why that name disappeared from my mind, but that's who I'm talking about. You're right. Thanks for that, Nicola. Let's see here. So, yeah, going back to this comment. Yeah, all of these early Claremont ones went out of print, and then just recently we've seen all of them come back. Volumes 4, 5, 6, and now now 6, 4, 5, and 6, and now we're going to get this one as well. So all of you who had gaps in your collection, there you go. And I like that they've given us different colors to differentiate the printing, so you can tell when you see it on the shelf, or hopefully when it's being listed online or something like that, they can show off the new cover. So just check out some of this artwork. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'll turn off this comment. There's a big Savage Land story in here. Oh, that's what the other comment was. Okay, reacting to the logo color. Let me see what that comment said. Oh, red face, red heart shape. Face, red heart shape. I guess I still don't quite understand, but anyway, let's keep on going. Um, yeah, this is where I think a lot of X-Men has been defined. A lot of people talk about this being where Wolverine really came to shine because John Byrne loved Wolverine, so always put him in the front of the group, whereas Dave Cockrum would favor people like Nightcrawler and didn't really like Wolverine, so stuck him in the back. And this is kind of where this a great amount of detail, great amount of action. He's a very, very good storyteller, and then Chris Claremont's plots on top of this, of course, are just fantastic as well. So, yeah, I hope all of you, if you love X-Men, are picking up this one because it's kind of a very important volume for X-Men. Hey, Curtis, love these videos that you do. You must be having all these epics from before. Are you collecting them all over again? Just curious. Well, Marvel has been sending me these ones so I can show them off to you. So it's not by choice. I probably wouldn't be buying the reprints if I had a choice, except for a few of them where the quality is obviously better. But yeah, I've been meaning to give these away to people who subscribe to my Substack, so I think I will start doing that again. So if you want to get entered into a draw to win some of these reprint volumes that I'm going to give away, then you can join at curtisfindley.substack.com. Just make sure you spell my name right. Do a little Google search or something. Okay, let's see what else is in the box. There's another epic collection in here. This one is Loki Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 2. Volume 1 was just, I mean, it's not even out yet, but it's coming out in a couple of weeks, and then this one comes out in August, the end of August. And yeah, Volume 2. They've got these back to back, so you have the entire Kieran Gillen Journey into Mystery run in 2 volumes. I got the first volume right here, 1 and 2. And there they are together. This is the entire Kid Loki story, right? Pieces works out to when the Loki season 2 premiere, I believe, was supposed to happen, and it got pushed back to October. So I'm wondering if maybe Kid Loki plays a big role in season 2. I hope so. I think that'd be kind of cool. Okay, let's see here. Ultra Mega Nicholas says, was Byrne's X-Men run before his FF, or did they overlap? They did not overlap. X-Men was first. And do the modern epics have the same extras as the classic epics, original pencils, old trade paperback covers, etc.? Yes. You want to see some extras? Let's see what's in the extras of Loki Volume 2. Right at the back here, we've got... Oh, we actually have some letter pages. That's interesting. They must have a special significance because they don't usually do that. And let's see. We have some extra covers. This is from Journey into Mystery variant covers. Oh, and here's process art for coming up with that variant cover that we saw. So that's kind of cool. Some sketches. More process art for the variant covers. And some original art, which might be digital, might just be the black line. Because I don't know if people are using, I don't know how many people use actual pen on Bristol board anymore. Certainly Alan Davis does, so this has got to be some original artwork. Yeah, nice more black and white pen work without the digital coloring. It does make a difference, that's for sure. And then here's the combined variants because they made one big panorama picture there. And then it says here the next epic collection is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought Venom was supposed to be in here, but maybe that one maybe the date got pushed. I'll have to check. Yeah, there was supposed to be a Venom epic collection coming out. Okay, so let's talk about these Loki epic collections. I got this first one, and I read it, and never read it before, and I thought that the first one was it would have benefited from some better text recap pages, because as I was reading through this, I didn't know that this was part of the Fear Itself story. I just had no idea. I've never read Fear Itself, don't know anything about this era really. And so as I was reading it, it felt like a big chunk of the story was missing. And indeed it was, because there's a main story going on elsewhere in another book. It would have been fixed by just some little text boxes that said "See Fear Itself #1" or a better text recap page, because it had no indication that it was Fear Itself until I get halfway through the book. And then I come to, let's see if I can find it here. I come to one page that says Fear Itself Aftermath. I'm like, oh, okay, this is part of the Fear Itself story. So then I went and read it. So I felt like the first half of this book, which is all of Fear Itself stuff, it left me cold, just because it really did feel like there was a big part of the story missing. And then the second half of this book has this great story where Nightmare is trying to reclaim a lot of the clout he had, being the agent of fear that the serpent character from Fear Itself took away. And so he has to battle up against Loki, and also Hellstrom, Damon Hellstrom comes into play. And it's just a fun story. So it picks up, and I'm looking forward to reading this second book because I think hopefully it'll be just as good. There are a lot of different artists on this, and that's because also there's a few issues of Thor in here, because there's the big crossover called Everything Burns, which is the title of this volume, and New Mutants 42 and 43, Exiled #1, and material from A plus X #5. So this is not a straight reprinting of the second Journey into Mystery complete collection. This has a few extras, a few different books like Exiled #1 and A plus X #5. I believe those are not included, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But it's cool to see Alan Davis on artwork there. I always enjoy his work, and man, he's been doing comics for a long time if he's stretched into the modern era like this. Lots of Thor action. Looks like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of Alan Davis art in here, which is very cool. Captain Britain shows up in this one. That's cool too. I like Captain Britain, but not drawn by Alan Davis, ironically. There he goes at Heimdall. And he's kind of got he's in a weird place right now, because he was the ruler of Asgard for a while. Yeah, there you go. So what are some of these other comments you're saying here? Not the entire Kid Loki story. Yeah, there are a few issues that are not included in here. Do the modern epics have the same extras? Oh yeah, I saw that comment already. A lot of new epics with uncollected material coming up between now and the end of the year. Daredevil Into the Fire, X Factor Judgment War, Avengers the Gathering, Ghost Rider Vengeance Reborn. Yeah, and that's great. I mean, there's so much Marvel content out there, and yeah, not everything has had its own reprinting, and it's good that they're filling in these holes. Picked up the Star Wars Epic Tales of the Jedi Volume 3. That's a good one, with the kind of the rise and fall of the Sith during that one. That's it's great putting some of the like episode 1, 2, and 3 into context, into the larger Star Wars universe. I really like those Tales of the Jedi stories. There are quite a few of these modern epic collections lined up for release. Would these act as good jumping on points for these characters? So based on my reading experience, this one is not a great jumping on point unless you read Fear Itself as well. If you read Fear Itself, even though Kid Loki doesn't really have anything to do with Fear Itself, the main story, he kind of works behind the scenes in this one. Just having that context makes this for a better reading experience. So my recommendation would be, if you want to go into Loki, read the Siege story, and then read Fear Itself, and then jump into this. And there are even a few issues of Thor that happened right before this that I would recommend as well. But, you know, it's a lot of pre-reading, which I feel bad. It's like, this is a volume 1. You shouldn't have to say, oh, you should read this and this and this before you read it. But that's the way it is. So that's that one. New Avengers, if you have just a general knowledge of who the Avengers are, this is a great jumping on point. I was reading this week, and it's Brian Michael Bendis, and he just kind of sucks you right in. I really, I read a few issues of this when it first came out way back, like, when was this? 2004, 20 years ago. And it was good, but then I was kind of phasing out of superheroes at the time, so I didn't really finish reading all of this stuff. So reading it now, and it just pulls you right in. I really like that. And some of you also love that run of New Avengers. Hopefully the modern epics will get better at recap pages to add context. Yeah, so here's another example. This one is a good jumping on point because it's literally the start of the character, but they don't put the Spider-Verse issues in here, so you don't get to see her. Like, that's kind of where they explain, like, showcase a lot of her powers for the first time, unfortunately, but you can still do without it. They make a couple of references to how she can hop between universes, and you don't really know that, but it's still a lot of fun. This is a good. I enjoyed this one a lot too. Let's see. How is the Len Wein and Sal Buscema Hulk Epic Collection? I think you're referring to the Wolverine volume with Wolverine's first appearance. That is great stuff. Hulk, I never really paid attention to Hulk growing up when I was collecting as a kid or anything, but going through these Epic collections, I haven't been disappointed with a single Hulk volume yet. They have all been excellent, and that's like, I just thought it was Hulk smash in every issue, especially the old ones, but there's way more than that. It's very, very good stuff. Why the covers of the collections do not keep the titles or the corner box, or was it released to the market? Or, sorry, as it was released to the market, I would love I would love to see the original covers. I love your analysis. Yeah, thanks for the comment. So yeah, for instance, here is the cover to Exiled. It doesn't have any of the trade dress, which is what Gabriel's referring to. It doesn't have the logo or anything like that. Just showcases the art. And yes, I would love to see that stuff on these as well. That would have helped with this volume if all of the trade dress said Fear itself right on the front cover, like all of them originally did. But you're right, none of the modern era Epic collections have that on there, and I think the reason is because the covers were created without that stuff. Unlike this era of comics, where let's see if we have an original cover here. All of the trade dress is drawn and glued right onto the original cover. So if you look at the original cover art, it is there. There's no removing it. So that's why they put it in the actual issues. But in the modern era, people want to see the full art without all of this stuff in the way. They want to see what's underneath all of that trade dress. So that's what they do. I agree. It'd be kind of cool if they like stuck them without the trade dress at the back as bonus features or something like that, but it is what it is. I read the Spider-Gwen omnibus without reading Spider-Verse and didn't find myself lost. They fill you in on everything well enough. Yeah, it's a minor gripe with the Spider-Gwen stuff, not including Spider-Verse. It does answer some questions, but it's not leaving huge gaps. What determines the start of a modern era for a character? For instance, with Captain America, they are starting with Brubaker's run, but that leaves the 2002 to 2004 Marvel Knights era out. That's right. Not all of them will be starting at the same time. So, like, for instance, New Avengers is 2004 and 2005. I think I've always felt that the modern era starts when there is a significant shift in tone. Once a creative team comes and revamps the title to make it feel completely different, that is the start of a new era. So, for instance, there's a very distinct change in tone for Amazing Spider-Man when J. Michael Straczynski comes on board. It feels more cinematic, more like a movie, that kind of thing. And that, to me, signals a new era, the modern era of Spider-Man, because everything before that feels like Spider-Man had been doing comics. Sorry, it feels like how they had been doing Spider-Man comics for the last 20 years before that, through the 90s and such. Same with New Avengers. Brian Michael Bendis is one of the people I think who is responsible for ushering in the modern era. He just had a very different way of telling stories, and it gave it a very different and new feeling. And so New Avengers, when he started on Avengers 450, what is it? 400 and or 500. When he started on Avengers 500, it was new, it was different. I guess the modern era She-Hulk will start with Slott as another example. I think you're right too. So there is another She-Hulk Classic Epic Collection Volume 4 coming out in 2024, and that takes us all the way to like, I think 2005 or something like that in that Epic Collection. It's a big, it spans a big gap. But yeah, each one will be tackled differently. So for Cap, that's a hard one because the Marvel Knights title does feel like a modern comics, whereas the Heroes Return Captain America still felt like the way comics were being done in the 90s. But I guess they wanted to start with the Winter Soldier stuff. Maybe number one, having volume 1 be Winter Soldier is a good selling point, and it probably is. So that, yeah, makes sense from a marketing standpoint, maybe. So I'm guessing that they will include all of the Marvel Knights Captain America stuff at the tail end of the classic era Captain America, whatever that will be, volume 35 or something, probably. There's a lot of Captain America after Heroes Reborn. Where are they going to put the first Wolverine comic book? You mean the miniseries by Frank Miller, right? That one? That series is going to be in the X-Men Epic Collections. It was in the X-Men Omnibus. It was in the X-Men Masterworks, I believe. Have they got to that point yet? Yeah, they're at Inferno. And it's going to be in the X-Men Epic Collections as well. And the reason I always say is there's two things. One, the Wolverine miniseries spins directly out of what was happening in the X-Men book, and it even continues afterwards in the X-Men book as well. So it's very much an X-Men adjacent miniseries, not a Wolverine specific miniseries, even though it's all about Wolverine. The second thing is way back when Epics first started, the main concern was collecting the title, a character's title from start to finish. And it was a later thing with the addition of characters like Black Widow and Morbius and that kind of stuff, when they started saying, okay, we're going to go back and do kind of all of their big appearances before they actually get to their main series. I think Moon Knight was probably the first one that did that. So Wolverine starts with his 80s series, Wolverine #1, when he's known as Patch in Madripoor, because that was the start of his series, and that's what the Epic Collections were doing at the time. If they were to do that today, I'm sure that they would start way back with Hulk 180 or Hulk 181 and kind of do all of the greatest hits of Wolverine leading up to that first series of his. Marvel Knights Cap seems like it was supposed to be out of continuity at first. Marvel was kind of wishy-washy about that when it was released. Yeah, I think all of the Marvel Knights in general kind of sort of did that, and they kind of wanted to make it its own little corner and set it apart from all of the rest of the Marvel universe. Some did it better than others, like the Black Widow stuff did it better than Daredevil, for instance. But you're right, they were wishy-washy about that. Are you reading Guardians of the Galaxy 2023, the Groot Fall? Sorry, I am not. Should I? Is it good? How would the Marvel Knights Spider-Man series be collected? That's a good question. It might actually just stand on its own. We might get, I don't know what you would call it, Marvel Knights Spider-Man, or would you just call it Spider-Man Modern Era Epic Collection? But I think it would probably stand on its own. It was its own. It didn't have a whole lot of tie-ins except for the other storyline, right? I believe. and then it was canceled shortly after that. So it would be, I bet they could pack it into one volume. Or maybe they make it they stick it at the end of another. I can't remember where it takes place. Is it before Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? No, because that was part of the other storyline as well. There's so many Spider-Mans. The tail end of it was part of the other crossover. Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's so many Spider-Man titles at that era. The last Nick Fury epic is great. Which Nick Fury epic are we talking about? We don't have any Nick Fury epics. Is it collected better than Loki? Yeah, that's always going to be a problem. Marvel Knight Spider-Man was later renamed to Sensational Spider-Man Volume 2, so maybe it could be titled Sensational Spider-Man Modern Era Epic Collection. That's a great idea, actually. I forgot about that. Yeah, so problem solved. There you go. I do wonder how they're going to collect Volume 1 of Sensational Spider-Man. Most of that was tied up with the Clone Saga. So there would be either they would only give us a quarter of the Clone Saga issues, or they'll reprint all of the Clone Saga again. I have no idea. Oh, the World War. Oh yeah, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. Thanks. Yeah, I forgot about that. That book starts to pick up at the second half. I feel I had a hard time reading the first Sergeant Fury epic collection. It's Stan is just so verbose, and while Kirby is great, I don't feel like it's my favorite of his work, so it was hard. But Volume 2 starts to pick up, and I know that I've read a few issues beyond that with the John Severin era, and those issues are great. So I'm really looking forward to a Volume 3 of Sergeant Fury. I hope that one comes out sooner than later, because there was a pretty big gap between Volume 1 and 2. Groot Fall is good. Groot actually became a villain. I think is the most interesting. That's the most interesting thing about the comics. So yeah, maybe I'll check it out. I'll see if it's on Marvel Unlimited. Do you think it's possible Marvel will print a book of characters in chronological order, all of its appearances, like all of the Spider-Man all in one? That's a huge undertaking, because if you think about it, there are already 27 volumes of just Amazing Spider-Man, okay, with a few crossovers and stuff like that, but just Amazing Spider-Man is 27 epic collections. Then we're talking about adding in Spectacular Spider-Man, which is probably 20, maybe 16 to 20 epic collections, and Web of Spider-Man is going to be another 12 epic collections. Like, that's a lot. So I don't think that they'll go back and do Spider-Man in chronological order, because they've already got the epics. You'll have to take your books and just slot them in order, in chronological order, once they all come out. What do you think about the new Punisher? You know what? I did read that. The one you're talking about, when he's like the leader of the Hand, right? I enjoyed the story. I thought it was a pretty neat character, and Frank still acted like Frank. He was true to his character, even though he had a new role within this new organization. I like it when comics try to do something different, and so you know, there's two ways you could look at it. It's like, oh man, they've ruined the character forever, or hey, this is an interesting story. Let's see how this character is developed. Maybe it'll stick, maybe it won't. I don't know. So the new Punisher, I like it. I'm hoping that this is just a story, and that he'll go back to dealing with crime lords and whatever again. But as far as this being a temporary thing, I think it's great. The artwork is beautiful. Artwork is beautiful in that one. The fight with Daredevil is a fantastic issue. Some great dialogue in there. So there you go. That's my thoughts. I don't read a lot of modern comics, so you're lucky that I actually read that one. I like this run with the Hand, but the new one coming, oh, I don't even know about that. I haven't been keeping up with what's coming out next. Frank was a psycho from day one. Well, I mean, yes and no. Definitely in the modern era, he's a little bit more unrestrained than he was back in the 80s, but he definitely kind of went in guns blazing all the time. I'm hoping we at least get Spectacular Spider-Man epics at some point, because I really want to have Spectacular 200 physically. Yes, that would be great. I agree. I would really like to have that's the the JM DeMatteis era of Spectacular Spider-Man. I would love to have that. That'd be fantastic. Let's see here. This N-Man says, yeah, I never hear any discussion about Marvel Knights Captain America. The only thing I recall was the 9/11 stuff toward the beginning, but it never seemed out of continuity to me. Oh, I don't know. Kid Frank was killing. Oh, I did hear about this. Frank Castle is a kid, a teenager now. Is that right? They all go through that, right? Remember the Teen Tony in the 90s? And remember when Storm was a kid, and that was Gambit's first appearance back in the 80s, the Chris Claremont era? I think all superheroes get to be turned into kids at some point. I hope we get a second volume of Spider-Man, Deadpool, Modern Era. I'm sure we will. Those are two of Marvel's best-selling characters. David Gabriel did say Spectacular Spider-Mans are coming on the other guy's stream once, the other guy being Omar on Near Mint Condition. Yes, he did say that, but that was a few years ago now that he said that. So plans can change over time. I don't know what their plan is for Spectacular Spider-Man. We can only just hope, keep on hoping. My guess is that when some of these long-running series like Daredevil is only a few volumes away from the end, unless they tack more on. No, Marvel Knights I think is going to be the start of Daredevil's modern era. So we only have like 4 more volumes of Daredevil. If he keeps up the 2-year pace, that means in 2 years Daredevil Classic Era will be done. Maybe they'll give us another long-running title after that, which could be Spectacular Spider-Man. That would be good. Curtis, how many comics do you read in a day? You have a great memory to do the mapping of books. Don't tell Omar, but I prefer epics to omnis. Hey, I'm going to tell Omar. I'll say it to his face. Epics are better than omnis. And how many comics do I read in a day? Well, that depends on how busy I am. So I try to get some reading in every day. If we're talking about just single issues, it's probably like, I don't know, only about 4 or 5 a day. So it does take me a while to go through these epic collections. And that's not all I read. Like I want to read the EC archives, and I read Donald Duck, the Karl Barks Library, and Usagi Yojimbo, and I'm reading through like all of Eclipse Comics' history and all this kind of stuff. So I jump around a lot to different things. But that's it's hard. It is definitely difficult. I have 3 children and a couple of part-time jobs, and it's just you don't get as much time to read as you would really like to. Is it me, or did they change the X-Men logo on reprints? Yes, it is just you, Sebastian. This is exactly the same. No, I'm just joking. This is actually different. All of the X-Men logos were red and yellow before, and they were a slightly different version of the logo, like a little closer together. These reprints, they've all been switching out the logos to make it more era accurate. Because this logo, the one where you can like see the gaps in the little hole in the E here, and it's just a slightly turned a little bit of a different way. This is what the logo looked like through the 70s and 80s. So they're actually putting it back on the epic collections of this era. So you are not going crazy, my friend. I already know I made a comment about this on another video, but do you think we'll see Golden Age or Atlas era epics at some point if modern era epics do well? I don't think that we're going to see the Atlas era epics, because Marvel has actually licensed those comics out to Fantagraphics right now. So Fantagraphics is doing a line of Atlas era hardcover collections. I think the first one comes out in a couple of months, maybe in September. And they've got a couple of other ones, including Venus, which started in the Masterworks, but I don't know if they finished it. So they'll be doing that. So look for those books, because if you want these comics, I don't think they'll be restored as nicely as these ones here, but the content will still be there. some fun stuff seeing those horror and anthology stories coming back into print. I'm going to pick one up, so I'll do a live stream on that eventually when that comes out. Which epics should I get if I want to replace my X-Men Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus #2? That's a great question. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't tell you which issues are included in Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus #2. So, I mean, the Jim Lee era starts with Dissolution and Rebirth. Is that where the first Jim Lee? I think actually the first Jim Lee issues are not yet in Epic Collections. So, but you're talking about like the volume 18, 19, 20, 21, somewhere around there. This Facebook user is looking forward to seeing the 80s horror series released as epics. Tomb of Dracula, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, which previously only released the Gerber stories, and then Brother Voodoo repackaged from Masterworks. Yeah, that would be really cool. A lot of those ones are now out of print as well. So if I know the Tomb of Dracula seems to be an evergreen title for Marvel, especially that one. So I think we'll see those in epics at some point when they're ready to reprint those ones again. Okay, Sebastian says 19 plus, the volume 19 for the Jim Lee Claremont Omnibus. Yeah, if I were not using my phone for this live stream, I'd check out what issues are in that omnibus, but I can't check for you right now. Endman says, I think they should definitely begin Spider-Man epics with around issue 100 with Marvel. Team Up, the upcoming Masterwork goes up to 77, so I would hope the epics start around issue 100. That would probably be the last issue of Marvel. How many issues did Marvel Team Up go? Was it 120 or 150? It might have been 150. But yeah, toward the end there, that'd be good. Although they might have to do a lot of restoration for those issues, and my thinking is that maybe they'll want to save that restoration for the Masterworks first, and they'll go back and do the early issues of Marvel Team Up first, since the work on those is already done, and they just have to repackage it into Epic Collections. I want horror comics too. Okay, 1920 21. There we go. 1920 21, and then 18 is Extinction Agenda, and I think that's the first Jim Lee issues in volume 18, right? So that's going to be in the omnibus #1, I think, maybe. I'll have to get some X Factor epics as well. I recommend doing the all new, all different X Factor. Those stories by Peter David and Larry Stroman are really great. A lot of fun there. Oh yeah, there. Marvel Team Up went up to 150. Yep, there you go. Besides Nick Fury epics, which other title has been complicated? Sorry, which other title has been complicated to you, and which title should you decide to be instead of those? If I'm reading your comment correctly, I think you're saying which other ones are hard to read. If I were to not read the Nick Fury epic, then I would probably just wait for some of the later volumes to come out, because those ones are really, really good. Alternatively, hopefully we will get a Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. epic line at some point, because those stories, on the other hand, are really good. It's by Jim Lee and Jim Steranko. The Jim Steranko era of Nick Fury is excellent stuff. So that would be my recommendation if you're looking for Nick Fury stuff. Yeah, where's the Alpha Flight epics? Good question. Are they going to publish the cards, like the trading cards? They often include the trading cards as extras in the 90s era Epic collections. But yeah, if you want a whole book of the cards, there's that one, the Jim Lee X-Men card set came out as a book, and it was only like kind of this big. It wasn't very big at all, but the artwork is really nice in that one. All Jim Lee stuff. I was surprised they have a volume 2 of Luke Cage. Why are you surprised? Are you surprised because it came out so soon, or at all? Because I am glad they have that one. I'd be surprised if they didn't finish the series off. That one's good because it completes the whole line of Power Man Luke Cage, going all the way to the very end of Power Man Iron Fist. It's all going to be up pretty soon, all in a row. That series is very hit or miss. There's some good parts and there's some not great parts there. 150 issues of Marvel Team Up. Yes. Also, epics of the back end of Defenders were released first. That's a good example for sure. And the quality looks pretty good to me. I bet issues 100 to 150 of Marvel Team Up would look good in epics. Yeah, you're probably right. I guess it depends on how much work they're willing to put in. And they did do that for, well, they're doing it for a lot of them. They're doing it for Daredevil Into the Fire and X Factor, Judgment War. Those are all volumes that have, or the Atlantis Rising, Fantastic Four Atlantis Rising that's coming out next year. All of that stuff is uncollected material that they are having to restore for the first time. So the epics do that for sure. Did I watch Secret Invasion? I watched 3. I've seen the first 3 issues or 3 episodes so far. Don't spoil it for me. I'm trying to avoid. I've just been too busy to watch it, but I'll get around to it. I'm guessing that they will collect the 90s Cage stuff in a volume 3 of that line because the original Luke Cage series got renamed into Power Man Iron Fist. That'll be an interesting one if they decide to lump that all together, because there's a lot of there's volume 3 might have to have kind of a series of maybe half of a volume of some of the stuff that happens between those 2 series, because Power Man does show up in a few different places, some of his villains and everything like that. So I don't know how. I haven't looked into how they would map that. But that series in the 90s is not a Max series. It was just a regular series. Didn't last for too long. It had maybe, I think, 25 issues or something. It's a little too much for one epic collection. And there were 2 thinner trades that came out several years ago. But if they were to do that series, yeah, load half of the first one with some of the in-between appearances, Marvel Team Up and that kind of thing, and then split that series over 2 epics, maybe. But yeah, he has had a Max series later on in the early 2000s, and then there was he's had a couple of different minis and ongoings, and he is a part of Heroes for Hire. That's one that I wonder if they could do as Power Man and Iron Fist Volume 5. They could do the Heroes for Hire series from the 90s in that, or they could do a Heroes for Hire epic collection as well. This is getting pretty off topic. Did I watch the new Futurama episode? No, I didn't. I didn't watch any of the Comedy Central stuff either, but I did love it when it was first on way back in the on Fox. Here's the answer everyone was looking for. The first 5 issues of X-Men Claremont and Lee, Volume 2, are missing. Actually went on to CLZ to look about it. Yeah, those ones are, I guess that's part of the extinction agenda. Maybe they didn't want to reprint that whole series in that omnibus. I'm not sure, because it's not all Jim Lee. Golden Age epic collections featuring Captain America and Submariner would be cool. So my guess is if they were to do Golden Age epic collections, those would be the 2, and Human Torch would be the ones that they would do. I don't know that they would get into anything else. I would love it to, but seeing that they don't release any of the anthology stuff from the Silver Age or the Bronze Age, don't know that they're going to do that here as well. Silly question, nonsense. I don't think any questions are silly. Why is the mapping of the omnibus why is it different from the epics? Well, There's a few reasons for that. The Omnis have a different purpose. The Omnis started coming out way before the Epics did. So when they first came out, they would do things like collect the events. They wouldn't be concerned with the graphic novels or sometimes the tie-ins. It just, they had a different way of thinking. Mapping was a different, it was a different game altogether when they first started doing Omnis. And then Epics, there was a very, very distinct decision to say, we want to do unbroken runs and feature these characters in a way that's presented differently from the other ones. I think the page count is another thing. With Epics, they established right away, releasing them out of order, that they don't mind that they have 20 volumes, that they're going to have 20 volume series, so they can include more in there. With the Omnis, especially at the very beginning, they were like, well, how many people are actually going to buy a $125 book, or $100 book, or however much they were before? It didn't have the same following. The collected edition market was very small and new at the time, so they're like, well, we're just going to collect a certain chunk right here. We're going to make it very specific, just so that people can have self-contained books, and and the Stand and Jack stuff, of course, at the very beginning. Let's see here. I think that's mainly why it's different reading experience, different purposes. I think we're going to have everything when X-Men Epic Volume 18 comes out in 2024. Yeah, we'll see if that comes out. That's one of the ones everyone wants. Hasn't been announced yet. Pierre-Luc says Sebastian should talk in French. And then he does. I don't know if I can read that. Oh, yes, I am not great at English. Something. Something. I just want Curtis to understand me. Something like that, right? I don't know. Maybe. How would Marvel fanfare work in an epic format? Marvel doesn't like publishing anthology titles in collections. They would rather have everything focused on one character so they can market one character. So I don't think that we'll ever see Marvel fanfare, Marvel Premiere, Marvel Comics Presents, all of those stuff, all of those anthology titles. Nope. I don't think that we will get those at all. And that's, we see that right now. Like they will never do a Tales of Suspense epic collection. They broke it up to Iron Man and Captain America, but they'll never have a collection of their adventures together in that title. So that's just the way it is. Can you read X-Men 1 to 150 in epics? What does this one go up to? 128? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can read all up to issue 150 in epic collections. So there you go. Yeah, 150 is in Epic Volume 8, I Magneto. Okay, I'm going to sign off here. We've been talking for a while, and it's been great chatting with you. I appreciate all the comments. I hope that you can give this video a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But otherwise, I'll be back next time with some more epic collections. I hope you enjoyed talking about Loki. I'll let you know what I think of this volume, because half of this I didn't really care for, but the second half was great, and so I'm hoping that this one will be great as well. See you later, everybody.